This is my Nissan ENV200 electric microcamper, and I'm about to set off on a journey from here in Kent to here in Orkney. So I thought I should give you a little background on why I'm making these videos. I am driving up the west coast of Scotland, and that's going to provide a few challenges for me, or potentially. Some of the charges in the certainly north of Skye are going to be few and far between, and some I think during my research aren't even working all the time. It's a nice challenge. The reason it's going to be tougher for me is because although most modern EVs can get 200-300 miles range, this van only has a 40 kilowatt hour battery, which means I get a range of 130, 140 miles on a full tank, on a full charge. In practice, you don't charge to 100% on public chargers, and you certainly don't want to let it get down to zero. You don't know when the next charger is going to be, not like a petrol station. In addition, the van has a CHAdeMO adapter. That said, I have invested in a CCS to CHAdeMO adapter called EV Boy, which I've been using so far from home, and it's been fantastic. And the trips I've done there, highly recommend, but not cheap, good £500 plus, but it should give me much more flexibility when I get up into that area to be able to use CCS as well as CHAdeMO, which is brilliant. The other thing, of course, about the range is that although it's 130, 140 mile range, that depends on so much, from the temperature, the weather temperature, the wind, how I'm driving, if you're going up a hill or a mountain, which apparently Scotland has one or two, so that's going to impact it as well. So it's going to add an extra factor for me there. So here's the first stop, which is GridServe in Cambridge Services. I've used it before, always works well, and it works beautifully with the CCS adapter as well. I'm currently charging over 80%, still getting 18 kilowatts, so I'll leave it for a few more minutes, but looking good so far. See what happens next. One other potential issue is the Nissan ENV200 and some of the Nissan Leafs have an issue of rapid gate, and the issue there is that if you charge on public chargers more than once a day, then the second or even third charge you do, the actual charging speed can be much slower than you'd normally get. This is because the battery heats up a lot, I believe. I have to say, fingers crossed, I can't believe I'm going to actually say this. So far, I haven't had this. I'm tempting fate, aren't I, by saying this? I have charged 2 or 3 times a day. I've driven 200 miles, and I haven't experienced it yet. So, as I said, fingers crossed that carries on. We shall see. Because if it does, that's going to mean lots of slow charges as well, but let's find out. So here we are, second charge of the day, GridServe again, and as you can see, if I zoom in, I'll try to zoom in, there we go. So we are getting 46 kilowatts an hour, is that? So that's pretty good for a second charge. I don't think it's about 15 degrees. Is that going to have an effect on rapid gate? I'm not sure, but interesting to find out. Let's see how long it takes. I'm going to try and reach 90% this time if I can. So I've got a longer journey for the next leg. And of course, in terms of the videos, I am driving up to the most beautiful part of the country. So hopefully I will be able to record some nice shots of Scotland and while I'm driving. So that might be useful for people as well. At the end of day 1 of my trip, I stayed with friends in Leeds, and on day 2 I drove to Pooley Bridge in the Lake District, where I stayed at the Hillcroft Park campsite, which had the most incredible bathroom and toilet block of my entire trip. I think they won an award for it, but it was stunning. Fair play to them. I also did a short few mile walk around Skye Hill to get myself back into the swing of walking, and this is my shot at the top of a 360-degree view. You can hear the wind whistling in the background, and you'll see I like a few more 360s as I go along the trip. So day 3, and I'm driving from Pooley Bridge to Moffat. First order of the day is to recharge the van, and it's interesting. I find that when I'm just on these days of driving days, how much my mind turns to where and when I'm going to charge next. And do I need 1 charge or 2? Should I try and top up a lot? And I'm thinking about the next day sometimes and what I might need for that. So we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed I get less obsessed. So as this was my first morning in Scotland, I decided I'd make porridge in my air fryer. Anyway, back to the trip, and while in Moffat I decided I should go and see the Grey Mare's Tail waterfall, which was beautiful but not quite what I expected. That was the wrong way. That's the right way. But it was worth going the wrong way to ultimately see the falls, even if it was quite a hike. And I got to take this rather splendid shot of my van right down there in the car park. So I thought I'd better finish off the evening with some local music. Very good it was too. So while we watched the beautiful scenery of Dumfriesshire, I wanted to add one thing here. One of the things that I was very aware of was the high cost of public chargers for EV charging. It can be 70, 80, 90 pence a kilowatt hour. So to help reduce some of that, I decided to take out 2 memberships of charging networks. A, who I trusted worked well, and B, I knew I would be able to use at least while I was south of Glasgow, because they had a good number of locations. North of Glasgow, I didn't know what networks I could be using. So I decided to join GridServe and FastNed. Both gave me fairly significant price reductions. I'll post on the video what they offer, which definitely saved me money over the full trip. GridServe always worked well for me, using my either CHAdeMO and with my CCS adapter. But the first time I used FastNed, I did have a problem. So I'm on day 4 now, just south of Glasgow, and I'm at a FastNed charger, which I've always found really good in the past for CHAdeMOs. Very reliable, good speeds. I've just tried my EV Boy CCS adapter and it wouldn't work. I don't know if it's me, did something wrong. I don't know if it's not compatible with FastNed. I wonder, when I was putting it in, it did feel like the cable was pulling at it slightly, as if maybe the actual adapter wasn't able to connect properly. So I'm going to hope it's that for now. Future Ivan here. Guess what? It was that, as I found out later. It's because the charging cable was pulled so tight that the EV Boy adapter was pulled out very slightly from the van and therefore didn't create a proper connection. And therefore the FastNed charging unit couldn't connect to my van. So, a tip for anyone using these adapters: try to park nearer the charging unit if you can, but if you can't and you need to stretch the cable, then try holding it so it has some support during the initial connection, And then, once it is charging, very gently let it go, and it should carry on charging. I did that twice successfully, including another FastNed, just to prove that works. Huge thanks for the people on the Nissan EV Facebook groups who suggested that. Okay, back to me being worried about whether I will have enough charge to make it to Glencoe. Because going north at this point, this is where it starts to get a little struggly in terms of where we are. There's a Charge Place Scotland one which has, I think Chatham out of order. So I've got to decide what to do. I'm considering maybe doing a top up on the way somewhere, just in case I have to struggle into Glencoe, which is my ultimate destination tonight. Right, let's see what happens. What happened was that I did do a top up at an Osprey charger, and then I drove along the beautiful Loch Lomond, had a sandwich, bought a coffee at a lochside hotel, and discovered that there are car parks by the loch where you're allowed to stay overnight as a camper van. Be a great stop for anyone. I then drove further north, and the following happened. It's one of those fortuitous things. I've come up to the Glencoe Mountain Ski Resort, and you can see there, and there's a ski lift behind. Some amazing mountains. I curve around, do a quick panoramic view. Rubbish day, but still looks amazing. But not only that, it has an EV charger, CCS and CHAdeMO. How good is that? It's only meant to be used for a top up, which for half an hour, and then you get charged more. That's fine for me. That's exactly what I need. So fingers crossed it's still working. But that's a real bonus. Fabulous.